Hi everybody and welcome to my latest episode of Mrs. Mummy Penny Talks, and I have another guest with me as I have been doing since pretty much the beginning of lockdown. So I hope you're enjoying my new series of podcasts where I am talking to founders of incredible businesses that I love and am honoured to be a part of, or a customer of, or a user of their services. And today I have the very wonderful Kat Biles, who
Hello.
hello, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you.
Kat, now, how long have we known each other? I'm gonna say 4 years or 3 years.
Yeah, I would have gone for 3.
Yeah, maybe 3 years, because so Mrs. Mummy Penny became my full-time business in 2015, and I sort of drifted for a couple of years. I didn't really know what I was doing with it, apart from I was talking to everybody I possibly could about Mrs. Mummy Penny. And then I got to a point where I just needed some direction, and our mutual friend Helena Bingham, who was my yoga instructor and nutritionist, said to me on a yoga retreat one day, Lynn, you need to speak to this person called Kat Biles. And she introduced us, and I think we had an initial chat, and then I signed up for PR with Hearts with you, and that's where our journey began. And yeah, tell us sort of, no, what I should do actually is close off my story, and then you can tell us about your story. But PR from Heart basically fixed the strategy of my business, and it gave me, like, it joined up my head and my heart, and it just made me recognize what was in my heart of what I wanted my business to achieve. And I just created this really intentional PR business strategy, but it came from here, not from here. It was the most transformational thing to happen to me sort of in the early stages of business, and you were responsible for helping me do that, so I owe you a lot. But like, how did you get to this point of give us a potted history of your life, and go back as far as you want
Of my life.
How you ended up because
so
in Antigua.
I do, which is where I am. Although I'm back to the UK for a month, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've been in Antigua for 6 months. But what you were talking about there about PR, and most people do PR from their head, and you know, if you go to a PR person, they'll give you a strategy which probably cut and paste from someone else, or is a formula, or you know, it was worked for another company, so they'll use it on you, or you know, or if you're lucky, you might hit on someone who's incredibly creative and intuitive. So I was working with a standard PR agency, and I was asked if I would work on a breast cancer drug that they knew didn't work, but wanted to sell to make more money for more research. Yeah, and that was it. I was like, no, absolutely not. And I can't work with an agency who would work with clients like that. You know, you imagine being
a lightning bulb moment.
It was one of them. I've had a couple, but that was one of them. And I just couldn't work, you know, sell something to women who were in an incredibly vulnerable time, and knowing that it didn't work and was having no benefit to them whatsoever. So I left, and I set up my own agency, Authentic PR, and that began this journey of communication with integrity, and working with businesses that have a positive purpose. And that was really radical back 25 years ago, 20 years ago. There wasn't the green movement, there wasn't environmental movement, there wasn't climate change. And so it was pioneering. And I tend to find that I am about 20 years ahead of the curve. So I love being that pioneer that goes off, finds better systems and products and services for people, and then shares them and loves talking about them. So positive social innovation. And so I set up my own agency, Authentic PR. And one of my clients was the Homeless World Cup, which was this amazing organisation using football with homeless people to change their lives. So they had a World Cup every year. with 48 nations of players who are homeless, and they would come, they would represent their country. You know, they'd go from sleeping in doorways to being centre stage with their hand on their heart, singing the national anthem. They'd come home from that experience changed, and they'd often come home and meet their prime minister or president of the country and become, you know, they were real ambassadors for their country. Yeah, it was amazing. And there were, meanwhile, all the year round, there were these projects all around the world using football to help players who are homeless. And after 6 years of that, I was completely exhausted. And we were working with people like Nike and UEFA and Desmond Tutu, Kerry Cantona, Lewis Hamilton, Colin Farrell. It was, you know, we had films at Sundance, speaking at World Economic Forum, all that kind of stuff. So it was very global and very high profile, but it was the exhaustion of what human beings can do to each other. You know, when you see the impacts of genocide, or you see the impacts of abuse and violence on people, that was really hard to take. After 6 years of that, I really needed a break. And I kind of was like, this is really strange. I was doing something really good. I was doing something that had a lot of purpose to it. And yet I feel terrible. I feel whacked out. So I had this question: how do I maintain my wellness and create a positive impact? And I started listening to my intuition and going back into me rather than, you know, listening to external.
But how did you know to do that?
I think because I got to a point where I was so disconnected from myself, and I was so exhausted and so tired that I had no other option just to stop. So I handed in my notice for the Homeless World Cup, and I didn't work for 3 months. I just relaxed, rested. But if I'm honest, burnout took me about 2 years to recover from the burnout and to actually feel like I had energy. And I started doing lots of exploring. So I did a feminine power course. You know, that stage when you're like, I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know who I am. I'm lost. I feel terrible. I had depression. I didn't know which path to go. I didn't have the energy to work. And so I was a real low point. So I started exploring different things. Feminine Power was one with Catherine Woodford Thomas, who was my coach at the time. Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. And then I did a training course with Darren Eden, which uses your imagination and your intuition to create change. So I've always been fascinated by transformation. That's why I was at the Homeless World Cup. And I've been fascinated about the transformation that business has been going through. Yeah. So to then have this tool of imagination and intuition to create change in your own life and in the lives of others, that's when things really started to change for me, bringing that. And then, you know, really getting a grasp of that, how you can create from your superconscious, from your intuition and your heart. And that's when I started combining that and bringing that into business, bringing that into the professional space of PR with Heart. And, you know, creating a service for women, especially because I feel women need to be more visible for some balance. We need women's voices speaking, sharing, and women need to learn to do that, because we're not naturally, you know, that's not where we are naturally. Our natural space is not to speak up.
Just sit there and be quiet. Don't raise your voice. Don't say you're concerned about it.
And especially in business, right? Business is you know, traditional business is very sort of old school boys club. That's changing. But you know, women using their voices, sitting at the board table is still rare. It's still not, you know, it's still not balanced. So PR with Heart was very much using these tools that access your inner wisdom, your inner power, your creativity, you know, really bring your true nature to the fore and your true wisdom, so that you can speak in a really calm, collected way and be heard and be seen and serve the people that you're truly here to serve. So that's what you went through. You know, you listened to your heart, to listen to what your true purpose was, who you're really here to serve, you know, the products to offer them, and the message that you want to share with them, the channel that you want to reach them. Your channel was media that came out, and you've been amazing at developing your media ever since. You know, you've just grown and grown because you're natural at it. So it's really about you know, allowing women to flow with their natural gifts. You know,
Yeah.
if media isn't your natural gift, then don't do it. Maybe social media is. You know, I have another client and social media, she's gifted at it. I have other clients who hate social media.
Yeah.
So it's teaching you to go with, you know, your natural abilities and gifts.
Yeah. And so I did this. So this course, it was so PR with Heart. It was like an online Zoom course where we'd meet up every week, a group of women, probably about 20 women, and it's all women from. I mean, it's women who are in their running their own businesses, but also women thinking about running their own businesses who are maybe still employed but still want to explore where they could go. But it's all people in quite sort of artistic, creative, caring roles. So there's therapists, there's educators, there's artists, there's writers. Those are the sort of people.
Well, that's what came out for me, because I think I have a creative soul and an artistic soul. I'm definitely with the artists. You know, I love the writers, the explorers of the mind and the heart, and you know, I love pioneers. I feel I'm a pioneer, and what I find happens with those people in traditional business is you have to sacrifice that creative spirit and that you know, your true nature to fit with these traditional business rules, and because it's focused on profit and monetary financial targets and all of this kind of stuff, and then you start to lose your soul. You start to, you know, and I work with a lot of women and men who don't want to behave in that competitive, aggressive, brutal way in business, right? So what I discovered is true business, which is, you know, where we connect to source, that universal energy of life that goes through the trees, the moon, the stars, the plants, through you and through me. When we harmonize with that by listening to our heart and, you know, walking in nature and meditation, when we come into that harmony, that's when, and we allow our creative spirit to lead. And that this whole new way of being in business came through. And of course, when you're in harmony with life, you're in harmony with your true nature, you're in harmony with the earth, you feel so much better than when there's dissonance. You have mental wellness. And for me, it was just like, yes, this is a different way for being in business for creative people who care. And here is an alternative. It worked for me, and you might like it too. So, you know, PR with Heart was the first expression of that. And now true business, I've just finished the book, and, you know, there's a course coming out on prosperity that allows you that wellness and prosperity. And there's going to be a whole sort of online community and business school that I'm just building around that. So you can create your unique true business the way that is natural to you, and you can allow your creative spirit to lead, and you can build a financial structure that serves that, rather than having to sacrifice your soul and your creativity to make some coin, which that's what was making me unhealthy and leading me to misery, essentially.
And that's the really fascinating, certainly the thing that was really, I mean, talking personally from what happened when I came up with my PR with Heart strategy was, I don't know how to put it into words. So I did come up with a business strategy. So there were words. We did stick to a bit of we came up with a structure, right? But it was a structure like, what are your core values? What are your 8 say missions for the year?
And results. And
it's always like, I choose to appear on the stage, or I choose to write a book and publicize a book. It's those kind of, so they're action orientated things, but they're not smart objectives going into corporate speak. You know, they're not ultra specific, measurable, accurate, relevant, timely. I might have got that wrong, but I sort of came up with this strategy, and then pretty soon afterwards, because I worked with you when I was at a real crux of my business where it wasn't making enough money, okay, and I was really stressing out of that money, because I wasn't earning enough to pay the bills, right? And I was the breadwinner then, 3 years ago. Obviously, I'm the complete breadwinner now because I got rid of the husband. But yeah, I was at a real crux point of, oh my God, I don't think I can make this work. But then I suddenly came up with this incredible strategy and a direction for my business. And then literally within 2 or 3 months, the money started coming in, because I came up with these sort of 5 core things of the kind of businesses that I'd want to work with, which absolutely came from my work with you, where it was I will only work with brands. So a lot of my money comes from sponsored work with brands and business partners. So I will only work with brands who are have great economic sort of ethics, not economic, I mean environmental beliefs and ethics. They have to have ethics and beliefs that are similar to mine. They have to be financially viable, and they have to look after their staff, which in turn means they will offer good customer service. So there's 5 principles that each of the clients I work with has to adhere to. And it's made decision making so easy, because if a client messages me, which they do every day, oh, do you want to work with me? I think you're just about to go under, so no, I'm not going to work with you. Or no, you're a dodgy loan company. Or no, you destroy the environment. So it makes, and it's almost like, I don't want to say it's like magic, but it feels a little bit like magic, because suddenly, like, I was in a position where I was economically able, or I was financially able to run my company because I had that clear strategy. So for the relatively small investment in PR with Heart, I mean, you can.
Oh, it's a tiny investment. It's 200 quid. Tiny.
It's like 300 quid, isn't it? And you get lifetime membership.
Yeah.
So we did this course together 3 years ago, but I'm forever doing meditations with you and all the people that are in this circle, because there's a small group of women in this private Facebook group, and we all support each other. We support each other's small business. We talk to each other on like Instagram groups. It's just what you've created. It's like you've created this incredible circle of women who are just looking after each other, and you're at the center of it because you're the one that created it all. And
I mean, that's how I think that women do business. You know, women don't like to do business, and some men, you know, don't like to do business in a way that's brutal, competitive. Some do, and I don't like being with people like that.
No.
You know, for me, my you know, I love deep and real relationships. I think we have a very short time on this planet. I would rather be in a compassionate, caring, kind, respectful space with a person than, you know, in power struggles. So I'm not interested in that dynamic. Now, some people love all that. Some people thrive on that. You know, they get all their ego goes off, and they've got all this drama, and they've got all this energy. You know, my grandma was like that. And she just loved it. You know, used to like, oh, you know, love being in a fight and a tussle with somebody. I absolutely hate it. I'd much rather be co-creating, creating synergy together, you know, everybody going up together than pulling people down because it's fun. And I find that that's just too much of that in traditional business. So yeah, I love that there's a community. I love that. I mean, what I really love too is that when we connect with our heart, and we listen to our heart's wisdom, our heart is much more expansive. Like the energy of life is expanding all the time, and it's creating all the time. It delights in creating. And so if you allow that energy to move through you and work with it, then not only is the work that you're doing pioneering and, you know, often like the front of your field in your industry, but it's really fulfilling for you. It's literally life-giving. You know, you're being fed with energy. And what I found with, you know, traditional businesses, I was just giving out all the time and receiving very little in return. So you're not in this balance. Whereas, you know, true business, because it leads with your creative spirit, it leads with that energy, and it aligns with your true purpose. It brings fulfillment. It brings you wellness. You're being of service. You're creating your legacy. You know, for me, it's the answer to it's been the absolute answer that I was looking for, is to allow yourself to create with source, and that will take you to a completely different business than the one your head would create, or your, you know, past experiences, or, you know, limiting beliefs, or, you know, I mean, I had a my heart started bringing me to Antigua, and, you know, my head was like, you can't do that. That's indulgent. That's ridiculous. My heart said, I came here for a 10-day holiday, because that's what I could negotiate between my head and heart, right? And on that 10-day holiday, I was swimming in the sea, and I heard really clearly, last day, you need to come back for a month and float in the sea. And I didn't really know why. I just knew I had to. And so I did. But my head was having a field day with that. It's indulgent. You should be working. You're making a big deal of it. Get over yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. And I was exhausted. I was literally putting my foot on the pedal, and there was no gas. I, you know, get up every day, and I just couldn't do anything. So coming here, I came for a month, and I floated in the sea every day. I walked barefoot on the sand. I ate mangoes from the tree and coconuts, and I watched the sunset, and I got into the rhythm with nature. And then that energy of nature started, well, it absolutely healed me. I mean, it was incredible. But then I started getting inspiration from nature for this new way of being, for this new business model, for the Antigua retreat, where I bring women together for a week so that they can have that experience of literally plugging into nature and creating a business that wants to be born through them, rather than what they think they should be doing. And then we spend a year together creating that from source, from your heart. So all these, you know, new ideas for products started coming through with the inspiration, and this whole new model for creatives who care came through. So, you know, none of that would have come through if I hadn't have listened to my heart and come to Antigua for that month and received the wellness and received the goodness. You know, I felt so much guilt, and it's incredible to me how many women feel guilt at receiving just wellness and energy and looking after themselves, right?
No,
I don't know how we got to this place.
I really struggle with a lot of women. So I've got so many friends who won't prioritize themselves. Like I've had this conversation with my children. So I've made a really big decision in the last couple of years to like walk away from a marriage, and obviously it was a marriage that wasn't working, and it took me a long time to come to that decision. But when I'm out on a walk with my boys, we often talk about, you know, quite deep meaningful things, and I'm like, boys, I swear to you, I know it's really, really difficult, because it is really difficult at the moment. It has been really difficult for the past year, but I took a decision to prioritize myself, because I absolutely needed to get myself to a happy place, because if I'm not happy, how on earth are you going to be happy as my 3 children? So, and they, particularly my eldest, they totally get, right, that I've made this decision for myself, but I've also made this decision for them. But I suppose, because when you get into these situations, a lot of things are thrown at you, right, that it's all your fault, and you're the one that made this decision, and you're the one that screwed up everything. A few of those things have been thrown at me, but fundamentally I've made a huge decision for myself, absolutely, because I am important, but for my 3 children. But it's not, one's not, I just mean
it's all connected. Absolutely, and it's all connected.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one thing I love about listening to your heart rather than your head, because your heart is connected. It's connected to, you know, it's you. It's the core of your being. It's your the sacred heart of you. It's the core. It's your soul.
Yeah.
And that is connected to the energy of life, and to, you know, and to the universal wisdom, and all, you know, and to love and compassion, and all our higher nature qualities. So my experience has been, a lot of people sort of dismiss the heart, and there's all these myths around it, but I've found the heart to be wise, direct, powerful, creative, you know. And when we listen to the heart, not our ego's interpretations, when we genuinely listen to the heart, you know, it will take us into a much better space, a much better place. Like, life wants the highest flourishing for you, and the highest, you know, of your potential, whatever that is. That's been my experience. Whether you are, you know, whether you love gardening, or whether you love writing, or whether you love surfing, or, you know, programming a computer, you know, whatever your heart, your true nature, whatever you were born to do, when we listen to our heart, and we have our heart as our compass, when we have our heart as the creative engine for our business and our life, you will have a life that is full of wellness and flourishing and fulfillment and prosperity, but not just for you, because your heart is connected to all. So you will have that flourishing for others. So, like you say, by me following my heart and creating PR with Heart, that has led to the flourishing of 100, 200 women in PR with Heart, you know, and then them choosing to follow their hearts has led on to the impacts that they're having. So, you know, it's profound if we make that choice to switch from this very limited head, which is quite cold, hard, brutal, into the heart, which is connected and compassionate and respectful. That doesn't mean that it's easy. You know, you might have to have some very challenging conversations with the heart when you listen to the heart, because, you know, like you said, it becomes obvious that you need to leave your marriage. That's not an easy thing to do. So it's not. So your heart will take you, but when you listen and you know it's true, it's undisputed. So regardless then of the outcome, you know it's true, and so you're constantly in integrity with yourself. And that for me has been the godsend, because business was constantly taking me out of integrity with myself and with my soul and with my heart and my true essence and true nature. And I want business to be an expression of and a flourishing of my true nature, not at the sacrifice. So it's been, I honestly feel like, having written this book now about
let's talk books.
Yeah, because just sharing that business model, it's like, wow, it is written down. If something happens to me now, it's still there.
It's your legacy.
It's you know, and if it inspires 2 or 3 people to take the model further, or, you know, into the next evolution, and if it just gives people the permission to follow their creativity in business. Like, you know, we've had a couple of conversations about artists that we love. Like, I loved Tim Berglund, Avicii, and his creativity, his ability to unite people through music and take people into a state of joy and connection was incredible. And you know, traditional business basically flogged him to death like a cash cow. I mean,
it killed him. It literally killed him.
It really, you know, it took him into then a depression, and because the overwork and the burnout. And I just think, God, if someone like that had this business model and could have pushed back to traditional business and said, no, it's my creative spirit that is making this money and this prosperity, so we're going to listen to it. And it's saying, stop now, break, you know, refresh, renew, revive, re-inspire. So that's what we're going to be doing. You know, and there'd be a different outcome. And, you know, George Michael was the same. Like, he fell out with his record company because he didn't want to do promotion for his album.
Yeah.
And he didn't need to do promotion for his album if that's what his, you know, I mean, he's had such a following anyway. So, you know, I think we need to listen to creative people and to the creative wisdom that has created that abundance and prosperity and artistry in the first place. And we need to respect it and honor it and listen to it. So the fact that this is now in a book that I can leave there is that's exciting for me. It's like, you know, I'm curious to see what happens, you know, to the model as it gets more and more used.
So your book is called True Business.
Yeah, I'm deciding whether just to no, I'm deciding whether to call it Your True Business and leave it at the title. But the working title that I've been, you know, writing it under is True Business: Unleash the Creative Spirit on the Business You Were Born to Build.
Too long. Go for the first one.
Exactly. That's what but it was kind of reminding me this is what the book is about. It's about
it's your self-header, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, really it is for the person who picks up the book, it's all about them and you know, your true business and the business that you were born to create when you arrived on planet Earth, basically. So that's what the book is. And final editing touches, beta readers, you know, dotting the I's and all of that. Thinking, oh, might add that story needs to go in, or you know. But yeah, it's been interesting writing a book for the first time. I think now I've done one, I could probably. It's like I've opened the floodgates.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, isn't it? Like because obviously I've written my book, which is out on the 1st of September. So I think once this podcast actually comes out, because I think it will come out towards the end of August, it'll be pretty close to publication day, and I know I need to share some self-publishing tips with you, which we're going to do once recording stops. It's such a it's a real, I found it like birthing a child, writing a book, which is a really weird thing to say, but so much of, and I'm sure it's the same for you, so much of my life and my personal memoir has gone into my book. Obviously linked into, so my book is a memoir / financial guidance Bible. Part 1 is all about short-term, month-to-month money stuff, so like budgeting, debt, food, money saving, healthy body and mind, family, days out, holidays, all that kind of stuff. And then part 2 is all about long-term financial freedom. So we're talking about sort of savings, investment, protection, you know, wills and life insurance, and pensions. Did I say pensions? And then, but the very last chapter is a link straight into your book, because my very last chapter is do what makes you happy. Because I wanted to end my book with, I did 16 years in the rat race, and it really did not make me happy in any way. The only way I have found true happiness and my true business, thinking to you, is through setting up a business doing what I love and what I live and breathe for. And I love every day of my job. It's just the best thing ever. And even when I'm sort of in the middle of a mental breakdown, or, you know, I'm very...
It's a very tough time in June. I'm not laughing at you in your mental breakdown, I'm just laughing at your expression of it.
When I was in the real depths of my despair earlier this year, my business carried me through it, because I was doing every day exactly what I loved. And writing the book was a huge part of it, because I started writing my book in May, got really ill physically and mentally in June, but I carried on writing the book because it was cathartic, right? There was life stories going into it. I was pouring everything from here into this book. So I just think it's the most amazing process, writing a book, and I can't wait to get my book out there, and I can't wait for you to get your book out there, because I think they're both so incredibly life-changing and transformational.
I agree.
It's just an amazing thing that we have both achieved, and, you know, we will both have 2 very successful books.
I'm curious to see what happens with the book, but it's definitely what it's helped me to do is articulate the business model. And mine is more of a course book, so you can go through chapter by chapter and develop your true business as you go along. So you get to know the business model first, and then you get to apply it in your own by creating your own true business. And just by doing that has served me so much, and enabled me to articulate. When I first started out this, I would say people, I'm doing this imagination stuff. Do you want to try it? And they'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. Because I guess they could feel how much I was intrigued by it. And now to have articulated it into an actual business model for creative people who care to lead with their creative spirit, honor their heart, and come into harmony with the earth, is like, wow, I just would encourage people to follow your creativity and follow your heart, because it's so rich. There's a whole world in there that wants to come out and wants to be expressed, and when it does, it's not only beneficial to you but to so many other people as well. So I'm really excited about what the book can do, and that it can share all of that information without us being there. And I think of the things that have impacted me the most in life. Maybe it's because I'm a writer, but it's been books. It's been books that have, when I remember reading the Celestine Prophecy in '95 and just going, oh, thank goodness someone else is having these experiences, because no one around me at that time was, and so to find that in a book. And then The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, with the morning pages and the artist's dates, which is about creative recovery, that served me so deeply. And the other book that had a massive impact on me was Michael Singer's Surrender Experiment. So I'm just so happy that I can leave my work in a book as well for other people. And the next generation as well. I mean, you just said there, we had 16 years and longer in some cases of unhappiness. And, I'd love it to be available for teens and for kids, so that they can start out with their very own true career, if you like. And I'm looking at how I can make it available for younger people, and sort of integrate it into that exploration of careers at school, where you get told, I think my careers, I was advised I could be a prison warden or a car park attendant, were the two things that came out for me.
Okay.
Hugely inspiring. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I went to a school that was a grammar school, so you could either be a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, or an MP, or an accountant. They were the main 5 that you were allowed to be at my school. To actually be in a position where you can create and make up your own career, your own path, is what I would want to be able to offer to young people. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's so empowering, isn't it? Like, I pinch myself every day that I have created a business that I'm almost like making it up every day. Like, I don't have somebody who's doing what I do to almost mimic what they're doing or learn from whatever they're doing. I am leading the way, like doing what I'm doing.
But I think that's what kids are going to start to need to do, like learn how to do. You're going to have to learn how to create your own day, your own business, your own life, and that ability to do that. Your best ability comes when you listen to your heart as your compass.
Have I told you that I'm a STEM ambassador?
No.
So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and maths. And there's this whole charitable sort of commission that looks after all schools in the UK, and they are really, really passionate about getting girls into studying all those sort of boy type subjects. And so I'm a mathematician. I did maths all the way through to university, got a maths degree, and got a very good maths degree, and then went off to be an accountant, one of your 5 names jobs.
Yeah, tick, well done.
But I was a girl going off and doing a maths degree, and if I actually think about how many girls there were in my maths degree at Brunel University, there were not many. And girls just lose interest in those sort of subjects. So I get to go into schools as a STEM ambassador, and I get to talk to them about my story, which is, you know, maths led to being an accountant. Yeah, great, but I was a commercial accountant, did that for a few years. Then I set up my own business as a personal finance expert, and it's just going to be incredible because I'm going to get to the root cause of these girls when they're like 13, 14, and I can sell them the sexy story of, yeah, I do Instagram and I do YouTube, so it'll light them up. But I got there because I got a maths degree. I learned how to run a business from a commercial point of view. I became a qualified accountant, and that enabled me to run a business in a really sort of effective way. And then I suppose I discovered the more spiritual, with heart side of business once I'd created my own business. So I can't wait to do it. It's amazing. But and that's all voluntary stuff. It's all part of my financial education side of my business, because I'm like, when you said about balancing out your business, I work with a lot of big brands, like PensionBee and Santander and Zopa, all these, and Aldi, all these big clients. But I also then work with small business, mostly for free. But it does tend to be like small business people that I know and I really want to support, like a few of the women in your community, and other people. But and then I do a lot of work with charities as well, because I just need to balance it all out, right? Because you can't just earn loads and loads of money. You've got to give back to other people as well. And particularly at the moment where, I mean, we're coming out of lockdown, small businesses, good God, they need our help. I'm so worried for the future, as to what's going to happen to small business. So I'm really trying to switch my money that I spend away from big businesses into small businesses. And I know you're passionate about doing that anyway.
Yeah, I love supporting local women here in Antigua in business. So the Antigua retreat, there's a woman here, Erica, who worked in a bank and now she has her own farm. So we buy all of the fresh produce from her. There's an amazing yogurt maker. So we buy fresh local yogurt. She does this ridiculously good rum yogurt, which you can't have for breakfast. Yeah, it's so good. You have to have it, like, it's really nice, like with some banana bread in the evening or something like that, for like a dessert. And then there's a woman here, she goes hiking in the hills and she picks all the herbs and makes her own tea, paddling duck tea. So we have her produce. There's Lucille, who is the best massa literally that I know from Dominica. She lives in Antigua now, so she comes and spends the day with us, you know. And I love that it's, you know, these women are also supporting local women who are here following their hearts and developing businesses here too. So yeah, always try and pay it forward. But that's just alignment, right? Like, what I'm finding with Facebook is a really good example at the moment. I'm not aligned with Mark Zuckerberg in any shape or form, and his absence of values. And you know, our PR with Heart group is on Facebook at the moment. And I find when I go on there to be with the women, I get dragged into, like, at the moment, conspiracies, disinformation. It's very horrible, heavy energy. Yeah. And I've been looking at, you know, clear forums that I can move my business into that space so that I don't have to be on Facebook with those groups. And discovered Mighty Networks, which is set up by women, and it's set up for creators with a purpose. And the whole point is to bring together community for transformation. So they have a very clear, bigger purpose. And so I'm moving my business onto that. So you know, it's just constantly coming into a deeper alignment with, you know, the world you want to create with your money. You know, so anytime I'm spending my business money, it's always to support the vision and the world that I want to be part of. So I would implore everybody to do that, to, you know, where you get your money from and where you put your money, make sure it's in alignment with your vision, your values.
Well, I'm taking a really, really big step with my money. So I'm very conscious about where I spend my money, okay, on a day-to-day basis. But my pension at the moment is so Pension B, my absolute number one business partner who I work with, and I've worked with for many years. I put my money where my mouth is, right? All my money is with Pension B, and very soon, I can't confirm a date, Pension B are creating a fossil fuel free pension fund.
Amazing.
So I'm going to shift my entire pension money, is a lot of money, into this fossil free fund. And I can't wait to do it, because I feel like a contradiction, right? Because on a day-to-day basis, I'm making all these ethical choices, but then my pension, which is my financial future, is sat in a tracker fund, you know, that's got its money with all these crappy, you know, oil companies, and a lot of it's with Apple, actually, which I'm not particularly happy about, because I don't like Apple as a company. So yeah, I'm going to make this concerted decision to shift it all. And I think we should all be making these decisions about our investments and our future money, because that's where all the money is, right? All of our big chunks of money are in investments. And
support the future that you want to, you know, you want to be part of, not a future that's, you know, going to be destroyed, right? So that's it's quite simple for me, I think. So that's great that they have that, and that you can make that shift.
It's amazing, and a lot of funds, a lot of the business world in the city is moving towards these kind of funds, and I think the oil companies are starting to get a bit worried. So about time. But
no, it's great seeing. I think I'm reading like big funds are starting to move away from fossil fuels, and that's what needs to happen.
Yeah. So it's
really good.
Very excited. Right, now, time check. We're going to have to end this soon, because we've gone over, I think we've been talking for about, I'm going to say 50 minutes. So I do need to touch on Antigua, because I was meant to be in Antigua in March of 2019.
So, no, 2020 pandemic.
Oh, this year, yeah. So just to paint the picture, my ex-husband departed from my house that I now own outright on the 19th of March, or the 18th of March. I was meant to be flying to Antigua on the 19th of March to go and have a week with you. But that's when the pandemic all kicked off. I've still not had my money back from Virgin for cancelling the flight, but there's a whole nother story there. It is coming. But I was meant to come and see you, but actually thinking back, it probably wasn't the right time to come, because I needed to be here for my kids.
Interesting.
So it's almost like the universe of all happened at the same time.
Yeah, takes over. Yeah. And we ended up doing a great session, didn't we? Where we did a couple of sessions together on the vision for your business right now, and you know, moved you into the vision of you having a book, of you having daytime TV appearances, long-term business partners with the same values as you. Yeah. And I mean, I'll never forget. Literally, you kept emailing me. Oh, got this daytime TV appearance has popped up. I'm 3,000 words into the book, you know, and here we are, like 3 months in, and you've written your book. You've been, you know, on all sorts of media opportunities since, like, The Sun, The Independent, Channel 4, ITN, and I just think, you know, you had that amazing experience of not coming to Antigua and having an amazing vision. But for you, the big thing for you is like learning to like let go of the control and let the universe take you where it wants you to go. And it wanted you to be there with your kids, like you said, and you can come next March.
Yeah.
Instead.
But I mean, we've only just recently made the decision. I originally booked to do it in December. We've decided to move it to March. Mm-hmm. March has always felt like the right time to do this kind of, you know, week in the Caribbean, which is just so incredibly like indulgent. I absolutely adore it. And I know people look at me and think, oh my God, you're going to like Antigua for it. And I always try to justify it, which I need to stop doing. It's like, oh, my friend is there. I'm going to see my friend.
This is the thing. We think that we're being indulgent. We're not. We're investing in our health, in our wellness, in our
Yeah.
creativity, in our, you know, in our business.
Yeah.
And that is not indulgent. That is essential.
No, it's not, is it? Because I've just invested like $2,000 into rebranding and redesigning my website. So it's just a
Why
business.
wouldn't you invest that in yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
Who is the core of your brand? You know, there
Yeah.
isn't a brand without you. So yeah, we need to start learning to not see it as indulgent, but see it as, because otherwise we're out in the world, we're operating in a burnt out, frazzled, overwhelmed, and nervous systems are heightened. It's very hard to receive anything in that space. You go into this pattern of over giving, and you know, so I think it's essential. For me, it's been essential to continually like reset, take that time out, check in.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you're on a journey and you go into, if you're on a big long drive, right? You come in and you refuel, you know, you stop for a sandwich, you have a little walk around, go to the loo,
Yeah.
and you know, you get ready for the next bit. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like that, but a lot nicer than a service station. Selling it. There you go.
I can't wait. I still need to change my flight, so I haven't quite got to that logistical bit yet.
Yeah, so fingers crossed, touch wood, we'll be together in March 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah. So yeah, I think we pretty much covered all the things you've got going on and all the things you've got coming up in the future. So I suppose we just need to end with, how do people find you? Where would you rather people go and follow you?
Yeah, you can find me at katbiles.com. And so if anyone wanted to have that initial chat that we had, they can book in there and just book in for a discovery session and have that conversation.
And
or
that's
you can
free?
Yeah, that's complimentary. Or you can find me on Instagram at katbyles, which is KATBYLES, or True Business with Kat Byles on Facebook.
Perfect. And the start for 10 is the PR from Heart sort of course. That's almost like, that's the way we all sort of come and meet you. And once you've done that, you get into like the Facebook group or wherever you end up moving that group.
Yeah, or you can come into a creative circle as well. So I work with women in small groups. Or you can come on the Antigua retreat. You don't have to do PR with Heart first.
No.
I have people that come straight into an Antigua retreat and then, you know, work together for a year to create their business that way. So yeah. whatever you prefer.
Yeah, it's just flexible, isn't it? You can do whatever you want, whatever you want. So yeah, that was amazing. See, I didn't really ask you any questions. We just had a chat. The best thing about these podcasts. Just a chat with like people who I find really interesting and my friends. It's amazing. Right, I'll stop recording. Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of love. Lots of love.
Thank you so much. But don't go.
Okay.
Bye everybody.
Bye.